Hello, dear Earth friends. I'm here again to speak with you about a certain topic that I was invited to talk about, and it's called the event. Or this is basically the idea that had different names and in different places. But I want to talk about specifically about this one and why it's so similar to the other ones. The event, if those who don't know what it is, it was created a few years ago. The idea of suddenly kind of like a jumping into five dimension and basically just having this kind of like a rapture, and that's that's why I'm using as well this word, because this kind of idea also was presented in different religions in a certain way, for example called rapture. Before, for example, in 2012 it was presented again as a kind of like end of the world, but of course it's not an idea from Mayans. They were not calling it end of the world, they were calling only end of the time and their calendar basically. And there will be shift, not anything would be ending or there would be any huge shift happening that you would kind of like disappear from your current physical reality and appear in some other reality. There is this idea being presented also through ideas of like other Earth, 5D Earth that is being created, and people will be at some point brought there or just shift there, and all these kind of ideas are just the same. And the problem with this kind of idea is that when you are believing something like this, or people are following this kind of ideas and are very quick to buy into them, is most of the time because they are searching for some quick fixes, quick fix for the situation that you are currently in. And currently I don't mean just this day or this year or few years, I mean like in very long time as a humanity, how we are evolving. Something like this is not going to happen just because you are expecting it or you want it in this way. You are going through process in a more practical way, that you are transforming and shifting through your own self and as a collective. And also as a collective, it means that you are shifting the collective because you are shifting yourself, your personal self, and doing some kind of work. So in this sense, like there is not going to be a shift that would like pull all, let's say, all deserving people to 5 dimension and leave someone behind. Well, those who didn't work, for example, on themselves, but usually people who are wishing for them to kind of like be shifted in this way are the ones that are not doing work or are actually mocking, kind of like in a spiritual work, by finding comfort in a certain let's say new age spiritual beliefs, that they are just kind of like lying to themselves only to, let's say, focus on like they are not judging or they are following certain rules or teachings, and basically they are finding their comfort in this way, just to basically not really do the job and just land into beliefs of like, okay, unconditional love is this, not non-judgment and only acceptance of everything. But this is not how it's really happening, how the transformation is happening, and that's why it's not going to happen in this sudden way that you are being presented through, for example, idea of the event. So this is basically as well like a false news, and news that just want you to again be locked in the ideas to distract you from basically really finding your guru inside yourself and really finding the pathway for yourself, like how to unlock your potential, how to unlock your own energy. And that way they are just kind of like stealing as well your energy through the attention, just like, let's say, for example, social media, you know this that is very toxic, but in this way you know, people in a spiritual community are doing it this way as well, but of course in a different way. They are kind of like trying to appeal to you in these ways to basically give you some comfort of to your ego, you know, that is trying to avoid certain things. So yes, like there are still, you know, like shifts that of course that not just are going to happen, but are already happening and already happened, that are very strong. And they have been very strong, and you can always, you know, feel them and observe them. Even if you don't feel them directly through your energy field, you can observe them later in some way that the world is changing. Or you get also, let's say, negative experiences, like for example with a pandemic and what is going on around it. That is also another consequence of some kind of shifts. You know, shift always, you know, so opening up more of, let's say, higher dimensional energies, and letting higher dimensional energies come to you and to ground into Earth and Gaia. They are always, you know, there is always a stage afterwards when you have to really, you know, kind of like let go of what is not resonating properly enough. So you can always expect as well this kind of things, like something very drastic and negative happening after big positive shifts that you feel. This is very natural. This is happening always inside of you, if you allow it, of course. If you allow to ride the waves of like letting go, you know, when you allow these shifts, these specific gateways to allow to integrate something within you, to activate more and so on, then you know, you always have some kind of, you know, either short or longer, you know, period of time when you are basically vibrating on a higher vibrational level. And you know, these vibrations are not sometimes comfortable, because basically you are shaking off what is not resonating within you. It can be only like energies that you just need to relax, or sometimes it can come up also with something specific, like memories and, you know, certain belief systems and so on. And so as on individual level, this is also happening on a collective level, of course, as well. So you can understand your basically all your system like one big entity. And so when this kind of like big shifts are happening and are influencing you as a collective, and then of course you need some kind of shaking up as well to get rid of all the things that you don't necessarily want to create more in the future, or again recreate and stuff like that. So that's why they are getting more visible. That's why, you know, like because you are kind of like you know, awakening still more and more, there are still more and more kind of like these things to push you in a direction of a sleep, distracting you. It can be as for example like this event, or it can be, for example, with the pandemic and how governments are trying to distract you, TV and usual media that is manipulating information and stuff like that. So basically it's always about like really grounding into yourself, finding that common ground, or being down to earth basically, and it not just, you know, like a phrase really, because you can find with the earth some truths about yourself. You know, earth remembers all your past incarnation as well, and of course also in a sense your future incarnations over as well, since time is not linear, but mostly it's about like really when you are grounding into that you know, like energy of Gaia right now. It usually is reminding you who you are through the linear of linear perspective of past kind of like experiences, past incarnations, you can find through feeling, you know, like ask Gaia to show you who you are if you are confused. Just sit there and let Gaia to work with you. Or trees, you know, trees are very old, you know, there are many trees who are very, very old and have, it's like a library. They are holding all the information about you as a collective as well, not just themselves and animals, but as a human collective. And so they can remind you your true nature when you are getting lost in your system and distractions and so on. So that's why I always remind you to really look at yourself and focus on yourself, and also look at yourself, like if you are really, let's say, allowing these shifts happen to you, or you are just kind of like still lingering in some state of comfort, not changing really, and just doing the same things that you have been doing all the time before in the same way. And usually you may see, like, although you are maybe avoiding, if you are being asked to really do something about your life, these things will be getting worse and worse. Whatever challenges you have, you know, you can have basically kind of like synchronicities that are more negative to, and are pushing you to really finally make some kind of more healthier decisions for yourself. So as well as getting back to the idea of the event, that's why, you know, like it's also not going to happen this way, because everyone has their own life as well within the collective, and what they are choosing. So for example, if you are personally choosing to avoid and be in your comfort level or comfort zone, then universe is not going to push too much on you. You are basically telling universe that you don't want to continue more. But yes, of course, as I said, sometimes it can be, you know, like a challenging, not necessarily like a universe is really pushing you. It's your own soul is desiring this and wants this. So basically you are in a conflict with yourself, not really with the universe. That would be again, like taking away some kind of like free will from you, but it is actually your higher self and your soul that really is maybe not satisfied with your incarnation, like what you are going through and what you are doing, and that is what is pushing you to make some kind of different decisions. So that's why, you know, a sudden kind of like event cannot happen, like when, you know, like it sounds even very unfair, like if there are some people who are not ready, that they would be left behind in a way, and some chosen ones would be, you know, elevated. That's not how this happens. This is again like ideas coming from these empowering systems like religion, for example, and of course like a certain part of spiritual teachings are as well working in this way too. You know, these patterns are still repeating, just in a new kind of like more acceptable to certain people ways of like presenting itself, but it's still the same. You know, the patterns are still the same. And for me, usually I, you know, like of course, like being part of a collective is very important, and to find a certain unity. But before you are able to find a unity, collective unity, you really need to find yourself, because unity can be done only when you are bringing your unique and your true self into the merge of a unity. So that's why this unity kind of like consciousness and like an event or something like that cannot happen suddenly from like no apparent reason, where you are not ready when other people are as well not ready. Then of course like a level of being ready can be different. Of course in the future you could have some kind of this like a bigger kind of like a jump collectively as well, but again it's when you would already have many different big shifts where you would accept, you know, certain ideas, when you would be accelerating more and being more true on an individual level. So you have to really reach a certain level of being already unified before you get this kind of big shifts. And there are some shifts, of course, as I said, ahead of you as well, like as you had already. For example, big year was also 2020, when big shifts would be happening and you experience it in a negative way. So again, like, when sometimes someone is saying like, okay, some big shifts, energetic shifts are going to happen, it doesn't always mean that they will be as well positive or being they are positive. In even what happened the last few years, I would personally say they are positive, because you are jumping to new stage again of your own, let's say, searching for true freedom and let's say freedom. So in the future, again, you could have some kind of shifts that they would again kind of like create or bring you to a new stage of your awakening, collective awakening, that would again create some kind of different struggles like this, for example, that would be more of as well like a collective and stuff like that. But yes, the time that's have been created from 2020 and with this pandemic, it created certain conditions that you still need to kind of like deal with, and consequences of all those things that were happening. You're still dealing with them and will be dealing for a few years to be ready for a next stage. And of course, next stage can be, again, as I said, there will be always jump that is positive, but as I said, sometimes of course it's very natural that there will be some more negative things being brought up to the surface that you would need to again address. So I hope I grounded you a little bit more with this kind of ideas of bigger shifts of a kind of a rapture or the event. And I hope this will help you to really find that personal path for yourself, inside of yourself, in path to inward, path inward. Because as I said, that is most necessary for any bigger as well collective changes to happen as well. It's only way to go out is go to in. So thank you very much for listening, and I will be very happy to share with you some other ideas next time again. Thank you very much, and have a blessed time. Bye bye.